So I just wanted to say thank you for being here, and obviously anyone listening today. This is Lissy. Is that definitely how we say in your name?
Yes,
I know
definitely.
I
Yeah.
know your last name gets a bit of everyone
My
normally
last name,
pronounces
you
it.
actually say pooch like a dog, which is
No.
just no one ever needed to predict that one. So,
I thought it
yeah.
had would have more of like a French twang to it.
Well, it's Spanish, but then because we're
Ah,
English, we've just like butchered it. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So even the Spanish would hate it. But anyway, yeah, it's Lissy, and then my surname is Pooch, but no one needs to remember that. I will
No.
not hold it against them.
And you work in the space of mindset and identity, supporting women and many business owners and mums to sort of reconnect with themselves and build their confidence and kind of move forward with that. Would you say that is what you do
Yeah.
currently?
Yeah, definitely. So I have two businesses, and one is more of sort of just the self-development elements, although I do find a lot of those women have a small business or want to start a small business, but it's not the focus. The focus is on them predominantly. And then I have two Instagram profiles, and then my other one is for high performing business owners who are sort of well established in what they do, earning great money, thriving. But interestingly, what often happens in high performers who are smashing it and do believe in themselves is their identity kind of hasn't caught up to the success. So they may not, they may be having 10 grand months and stuff, but they don't actually feel any more secure around money. They don't actually really have the self confidence they thought they would. They don't feel successful. They're doubting themselves. They have a lot of overwhelm, intrusive thoughts. Yeah, all of those kind of things. So I rewire the identity on both parts, and then in the business sector, I work on business strategy as well
Yeah.
to do those bits. Yeah.
And would you say you primarily work with women, or is it does anyone come into that?
It is primarily women, and my brands are positioned towards women. So I sort of speak to one person in both of them. But I have worked with men. So every year I will work with a handful of men who are so rewarding as well. I actually love working with the men. But it is a different experience. And I think it's important to just sort of own your niche and own who you talk to. So
Yeah.
it's predominantly women. Yeah. And
Yeah.
most of them are mums.
Cool. And this is not something you've always done. I think there's been quite a big change in your career over the years. Would you like to sort of share that
Yes.
career journey?
So, my career journey and life journey sort of went hand in hand, like a lot of people's do. So, I became a single mum when I was 21 and really thought my life was over, to be honest. My family were not thrilled, obviously. And I sort of came from, that upbringing of you need to get married and have babies at
Yeah.
30. And, so there was a lot of shame. So I was very much on my own. I didn't have any friends, and I went and worked at Audi, the car garage, on reception. And I was like, "Can I swear on your podcast?"
Yeah,
It
go
just
for
goes
it.
out. I was like,
We swear around
"Fuck
here.
my life! Like this can't be it," you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, I had a beauty qualification, so long story short, I started my first business. But it's important to say that I had no confidence. Like my confidence was on the floor. For perspective, like I remember I was doing like temp admin jobs basically, which is why they put me in Audi with a temp agency. And I would like ghost interviews, not show up for first days at work. I remember having a panic attack in the toilet of one of the little like law offices I was working in. I'd come out of a very, very, very abusive relationship,
Yeah.
and was carrying a lot of childhood trauma that I hadn't dealt with as well. So it wasn't just like, okay, I'm just going to start this business. And it was just always easy for me. And I just owned it. Like, it was like, I have to feed my child. And
Yeah.
also, I don't want to live a shit life. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't know what else to do. And I remember there was just this like tiny, tiny flicker, like this big little flame, and I feel like it was like you could barely see it, you could barely identify it was there, but it was like 1% hadn't been extinguished in me of like a refuse to live or build a life that I don't love.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I chose to nurture that flame, even though it was not linear and really difficult. But yeah, that's where I built my first six-figure business in my little flat on housing benefit with the baby in the next room, and got myself in a great position. So I sort of pivoted into makeup quite quickly, went all in, and very much had like the dream job, you know, every girl's little dream. I was doing makeup and I loved what I did, and it did scare me a lot, but I really went for it. I won a big national award and I
Yeah.
was really proud of myself, but there was a lot of really difficult challenges along the way. I was really sick for 13 years, so was in and out of surgeries, and that would bring my business back to not square one, but you know, I had to keep picking myself up and battling through chronic pain and stuff. And then um, one day I woke up and I was single with three kids, basically. My long-term relationship that I'd ended up in broke down, and my youngest two were two under two, and my business had been sort of destroyed by lockdown and the mat leaves and stuff. So basically, it just was really, really hard to rebuild it.
Yeah.
And I think I sort of realized what had once been a dream career was just not something that supported me. And I ended up going into online sales. Then I ended up in network marketing, and at the same time, I started business mentorship. There'd been quite a few asks in my area where I lived at the time of like, how did you build the business that you had? You know, how did you have the success that you did? I want to build a skin business, or I've got an Etsy business. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to start like a membership and just do this. And the rest was sort of history.
Yeah. That must have been so hard. Like there's so many different elements of that that I was obviously made you into who you are today, but at the same time, always having to be that like strong person independently with just yourself sort of to lean on. That must have been like so hard for you, like because you are like you were quite young, like
Yeah.
being a single mum and experiencing all these things. And for myself, I don't think I fully felt an adult till I was like 25 plus, like in my 30s probably. And I think even in your 20s, you're still learning so much, and that must have been a huge part of who you are now and why you're so passionate. And
Yeah, definitely. I think um I have literally faced every dark corner of my mind that I think we have as a human being. And if I'm really honest, like where I am now, like even sort of having a conversation or hearing you say that was sort of, it just feels very surreal still.
yeah,
Like it doesn't, it feels like maybe something that once I imagined, but it was too far, you know, like
yeah,
where I've sort of built things to currently, there was definitely so many times where like it didn't even pop into my imagination that I would be able to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like we are the limits of our own dreams, but we can only dream so big to what we
yeah,
can even see. And that just continued to expand as everything, you know, a little bit of my confidence grew, and you know, someone outside of me would expand my horizons and stuff. But to be in this position now just feels surreal because inside, you know, the journey that you know, you've seen the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dark nights and lonely weeks and times where you've questioned yourself. Like I've wanted to quit more times than I would ever be able to tell anyone, you know. That goes without saying. um and it was excruciatingly difficult, and without question, like because I've found it so hard, if I'm honest, it's almost like I've found it the hardest, not the easiest. Definitely that's what puts the passion in, because I know the emotional experience that is available to us. Like I know how happy and free and light that it is actually
yeah,
possible to feel every single day. And had a big history with really dark mental health myself, and I was a carer for my mum when I was a child, which was really complex.
yeah,
Who had sort of debilitating. She had OCD and ruminative thoughts, basically. Um, and so, yeah, I think like I know the prisons that people just have normalized in their own head, even if it's not that severe. I would say almost 99% of women that I've worked with, even if they're pretty happy on the outside, potentially they're not, but a lot of the time things are
yeah,
pretty good. Once we've worked together, they cannot even believe how shit things actually were, and they didn't even realize. And I know that firsthand. And just the more people that can experience a happy, free life where they know everything is possible, the better. That really should be a bare minimum,
Yeah.
you know?
And just hearing that now, it has been so normalized to just crack on and be this strong person all the time and not well, be encouraged not to think about what's underneath it all and why you're feeling like this. And you don't always have to be the strong person. Um, and you kind of can choose yourself and build your confidence because it does tap away at it, doesn't it? Like not thinking of yourself and prioritizing yourself in that sort of way because you think, oh, I have to be like this for this person or
Yeah.
um
I think almost a part of my journey that I forget, and really often try and remember because I know it's where a lot of people are, is like how disconnected I was from myself until I think my moment of that was around the 2020 mark. And I had actually done quite a lot of personal development earlier on. So I did like this huge personal development year or two when I was 22. I did like a Tony Robbins equivalent thing. And anyway, but it's almost like I sort of did that and then like ticked a box, like personally developed. I'm
yeah.
done. And then like sort of put it all down. And, I was too comfortable, really, is what it was. And, young, whatever. And probably not uncomfortable enough to need to really change my life, but definitely when I hit rock bottom, which was 2022, like the worst, really, like it couldn't get worse. It was that admittance that I couldn't keep running from myself. I couldn't keep searching for feelings, answers, validation, thrills, joy in everything outside of myself because I just kept repeating all of my patterns. I kept
Yeah.
ending up with the same guys. I kept, hitting burnout patterns. And again, my life on the outside was great. Like, I think if anyone that's followed my journey for the last 10 years would be like, oh, I thought she was good from 8 years ago. So we do a really good job of convincing ourselves that
Yeah.
we're okay. And like you say, it's like you build up that wall. Um, and is it about not being strong? I'm not sure. I think it's about being connected and admitting that you
Yeah.
need the tools. Admitting that you haven't got the tools and that you need the tools, but
Yeah.
deciding you're ready. And the biggest barrier of that for people is fear. Definitely
Yeah.
that was mine. Terrified. What am I going to find in there? You
Yeah.
know?
And it is distracting yourself from thinking there might be something to explore there, or deep down you kind of know it and you just, yeah, like you say, you just don't want to find anything you don't like or that will make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um,
And why? Like people would
yeah.
think, but why? Like how could that possibly we're only going to do something in life as humans if we're driven, if we know that there's something for us at the other end, right? So I think something that I feel really passionate about is more more and more people not hitting rock bottom to realize that genuinely working on themselves. There's a lot of like fake surface level pretend working on yourself going on these days, I think, with social media trends and stuff, or like, yeah, I'll sort of park my opinions on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But like genuinely working on yourself actually will create the life of your dreams and what you're chasing. The
Yeah.
feeling that you don't realize you're chasing from doom scrolling, the feeling you don't realize you're chasing from binge eating, the feeling you
Yeah.
don't realize you're chasing by not prioritizing yourself. Like actually everything you want is inside, which sounds really cheesy, but it has to start with you being ready to take another approach and being brave in that,
Yeah.
you know?
And like you said about it sometimes takes people and like yourself, it sometimes takes from getting to rock bottom and getting to something going on, um, to reach a point where you think, ah, fuck, I need I need a way forward. I need some help or something needs to change. And
Yeah.
but at this point, they might not have sort of that belief in themselves that there can be a change or life can be different or they can feel any different. And what do you think sort of that first step would look like or how they could take that first step?
Yeah, so I had this conversation the other day actually. And it's probably like the number one thing that I do say to someone, or I have said, especially sort of our conversation is much more relevant to like my self-development profile in business and stuff. And definitely the women over there. And a lot of the time, like, maybe I'll get a message like, oh, I wish I could know how to earn loads of money without working like a slave. And I would love to not snap at my kids and not just be like all in and all out and then give up on myself. But first of all, you have to understand the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, and that is just a choice. Like a growth mindset says like, okay, well, I'm going to find a way and keep persevering, and a fixed mindset says, oh, well, that would be nice. Done. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's like belief is a choice, and everything that I teach or that involves some kind of shadow work, which is basically facing your own bullshit, really actually comes down to radical responsibility, like being ready to
yeah,
be like, put the excuses down of like, it's harder for me because, or it's not possible for me because, like, we are all equal. Like, every
yeah,
baby is born equal, and it's not, we're not special because we have more doubts about ourselves, or like it's all the same. But the thing that really I find helps is, say for example, people that will definitely be listening to your podcast, maybe they're before their sort of health transformation, and they are potentially not happy with the weight that they're at, and maybe they've never really had those consistent habits. It feels like a huge mountain, but they do know that they'd like it. If someone could wave a wand, they would be fit and in shape and feeling that sense of pride and the energy and be that person, that version of themselves, right? Is you have to be careful of the how. The how will ruin your life. And if
yeah,
you don't learn this or listen to this or take it on board and apply it, like, you will lose your whole life over this. There's no two ways about this. So the how is always the problem, and this applies to manifestation as well. So say someone goes, I want to lose 2 stone and be toned and fit and energetic and take care of myself and prioritize myself and be like that mum, that woman. But right now I've actually never met her before. It's not even like I'm getting her back. I don't even know. I've never done that before. That's their ask. So everything starts with an ask. Everything starts with a desire, with a demand, and like your permission slip is to be as demanding as you want. Like, be more demanding, be more bratty, be like, say you want to lose 3 fucking so Jake, say the thing you really want, do you know what I
yeah,
mean, as opposed to like playing small and being like, oh well, it would just be nice at least if I could get, no, like, say the thing that you want.
yeah. Be
This,
honest.
be
Yeah,
honest, claim it, right? Fuck, you've got one life. Like, what do you want, So claim the thing. The next thing you have to be aware of is your chimp mind. Yeah. So the animal part of your brain immediately, especially if you haven't created this muscle in yourself, created this self-discipline, is going to go, but how? And then what will happen really quickly in like nanoseconds is, especially if you have a fixed mindset, not a growth mindset, is you will then immediately give up
yeah,
before you've even tried because you don't know how. But the best analogy that I gave the other day is, if your little girl said, I really want to learn to ride my bike, you'd be like, oh, yes, let's do it. Now, first of all, there's a difference between her going, I want to learn to ride my bike and be amazing and cycle down to the sea where we live and cycle around the park, versus being like, I'll really settle for what I think is realistic and I'll just learn to ride it with stabilizers around the front drive. Okay, so first of all, you'd be like, babe, just claim what you want,
yeah,
please, and then you want to pay attention to why not. Well, why not? Because that then you'll start to see your limiting beliefs, you know, and it's your job to know that they're bollocks, basically. So, first of all, your daughter says, I really want to ride my bike. And you're like, let's do it. But then imagine that she went, but I don't know how to be a professional cyclist. You'd be like, babe, you don't need to know
yeah,
how to be a professional cyclist. You would say, all you have to do is start. All you have to do is take the first step. And parallel to that, at the same time, you need to hold the belief that you will master this. And what if she said to you, but what if I never learn it and I can't do it right now and it's harder for me and oh well it's easier for everyone else, or well they're much better than me because you'd be like literally none of that is true. If you
Yeah.
keep trying and just take small steps every day, you don't need to be on your bike for 12 hours a day. If you literally just keep at it and get rid of this defeatist mindset and decide that you can, you will. Like it's
Yeah.
not that complicated. And somewhere along the line a lot of adults lost the ability to do that and pace themselves through that. And not only does that concern me for them and their life, but actually for their children. Because if
Yeah.
you aren't doing that for yourself, you're not going to be doing that and role modeling it for your kids and the generation
Yeah.
underneath us, which for me is where the responsibility as a woman and a mum really sits.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that is, even myself, like listening to that, I did a lot of self-development before I had my daughter. So she's 3, nearly 4 now. But also a lot of it has come after, since I've seen her, and I've realized, oh my gosh, I see so much in myself, in like my younger self in her.
Yeah.
It adds to that layer of like, this is who I want to be and how I want to show up for myself as well as her. And I think, yeah, that is, can be a huge driver of it, and can help you see like where you came from and who you used to be, and these things that they have shown up in your life and you have experienced them, but they don't actually have to be who you are.
Yeah. What's that phrase? It's like what happened to you isn't your fault, but if you keep bringing it with you, it's your choice and
Yeah.
responsibility. But for context on like the parenting thing as well, I used to put so much pressure on myself as a parent. So I
Yeah.
think sometimes we have to be careful with these conversations of putting like more pressure or even
Yeah.
like shame on mums if they're in the trenches or feeling shit, or knowing they're not a version of themselves that they want to
Yeah.
be but not knowing how to. And actually the mistake that I used to make a couple of years, several years ago, about 5, and I actually got referred for CBT. I was in that much of a mess. Like mum guilt used to keep me awake like at
Yeah.
night. I was in such a bad state. CBT wasn't the solution. What I teach in my program was, but like was I thought that being a great mum, which this could be perceived as a conversation about being a great mum, I thought being a great mum was like always putting them first, giving
Yeah.
everything, putting myself last, like homemaking the fucking birthday cake. Like I thought that was being a great mum. And then
Yeah.
I was trying to like teach these kids, you know, and that's not role modeling. Like, and what I realize is you just have to show kids. It's so
Yeah.
easy. Like my parenting has never been more hands off, but actually I just mind my own fucking business and work on myself. I learn how to regulate my own emotions, and then when they're having a paddy, I'm cool about it. And also I'm like, when you cool down, I can just show you how I regulate my emotions when they get big, you know?
Yeah.
But what happens is because we aren't given these tools from birth, which we really need to be and ought to be, but unfortunately we're not, about how to believe in ourselves, have the belief system that supports us, have the daily thoughts every day that are like, babe, you're doing the most amazing job, or you dropped your kids off today and they were all dicks in the car, and I just want to salute you because you held yourself so well. That, yeah, because we don't have our brains functioning this way, which we should, we try to like teach our kids things, and it's
Yeah.
very do as I say, not as I do, and it makes it so hard for us as a mum because you're overcomplicating what it takes to actually show up as a parent.
Yeah.
And really, it really is as simple as like a kid would learn to chop a carrot by watching you chop a carrot. You're
Yeah.
better off just focusing on yourself,
Yeah. And just showing up as authentic you, and
just
finding
being
peace in
kind
where
to
you are.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, being kind to yourself and giving yourself like a massive permission slip. Like my bar with parenting is so much higher in certain places now. Like I say, like mind your own business list and work on yourself, the rest will shine through, and so much lower everywhere else. Like I'm not going to birthday parties. I don't buy loads of presents at Christmas. I don't have a point to prove. I just love my kids and I'm
Yeah.
present and I'm regulated and I want to become the woman that I'd want to see them become. And that's all I need to do. And the difference in my household is astronomical.
That's
Like,
amazing.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my God, it actually does get to be this easy.
Yeah, oh, I love that. And it does take, like you said, it's not always linear. Like, well, most of the time
Yeah.
it is not definitely not linear. There's going to be things that pop up, and um they might make you feel a certain way, and I think it's always looking into like the why behind you feel a certain way. There is always a why, whether it's like something you feel about, I don't know, yourself, like in the current moment, or something that's popped up from the past that just might be lingering around that you haven't sort of explored. But it's always sort
Mm.
of the why behind how you feel and how it is showing up for yourself.
Agree. I feel like if any of this has resonated with any of your women, like the two real focus points that they can plug into that make a massive difference is just like you say, sort of when they're in that moment. So maybe they have loads of mum guilt every day. And like you say, this of getting curious as to why. My recommendation would always be number one, what would I love to feel? Or what would I love to believe? What would I love to be true? And number two, what is in the way of that? So, okay, you're laid in bed. I feel like I'm talking to like myself 5 years ago, right? You're riddled with mum guilt because you weren't fucking Mary Poppins, right? And it's like number one, what would I love to feel? Calm and actually like knowing I did a great job today, knowing I did my best. And then number two, what's in the way of that? And then that's where you need to get honest. And it's like, actually, the only thing in the way of that is the inner narrative in my head, is the thoughts telling myself, you did terribly today. I'm placing these completely unrealistic expectations that I should be present with her for like 17 hours. Um, losing my nerve when actually she was really annoying and testing. Like the only thing in the way is those thoughts. And actually they are in my control to start to like only you are choosing your thoughts. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day. No one else is putting them in your brain. And so again, that just starts to move them into the desire and starting to actually demand what they want from their life and hold that belief that the more they ask for it, the more they have a growth mindset and decide that they will start to find a way, they will start to retune one of those thoughts or push back on one of those beliefs, or you know what I mean? But also, it really starts to connect them inside to themselves because, again, if someone was riddled with mum guilt or struggling putting themselves first, what happens and the reason they stay in that trap is because they're looking for something outside of themselves to
Yeah,
change that. Okay, the circumstance needs to change, or I need to physically spend more time with my kid in order to feel better about myself. No, you don't. You
yeah.
don't. You need to think different thoughts about it and start to have a different perspective and really cut yourself a break as a woman as well.
And and just going into like thoughts and things like that, I think as well, I think that pops up a lot of for the women that I work with is over time we've learned, like I know you said about like connecting with yourself, and part of that is like we don't know how we feel, like because we think we must be
Mm-hmm.
like super positive and like positive is
Mm,
the only way. Like we've forgotten that we actually have a massive range of emotions that we need to feel, and that goes into like parenting as well, I think. But
massively.
there is a massive, like loads of different emotions that we just always think that we have to be this super positive and amazing person all the time, when actually if we just let ourselves feel those feelings, we'll understand what is going on underneath that to help our
100%.
habits.
So one of the literal first things I teach in my cycle is like fuck positivity. Like I literally encourage you, anyone listening, to just throw the word positive in the bin. As someone who works in mindset identity and brings joy to people every day, positivity is the the worst thing. Like it is so not it. It is so not the root. It is so not the solution. There's a difference, like we say, between having a growth mindset and seeing the opportunity in something and seeing the belief and perseverance and seeing how you can and turning something into something better than not. But thinking positively is not the route because like you say,
You're just
again,
suppressing.
You're suppressing everything.
Yeah.
And then you're going to teach your kids that some emotions are good and some emotions are bad. All emotions are neutral. All emotions are welcome. Obviously, some are enjoyable and
Yeah.
some are unenjoyable, but they're all yours. And so when you're telling yourself that a certain experience or emotion is good or bad, I teach that there's no such thing as good or bad anywhere in the world. It's just a social construct that was made up, right? Everything is neutral. You're really telling yourself a message that like a part of you is bad or
Yeah.
part of you is awful or not welcome or wrong or broken, and that's just where all the problems actually lie.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, a lot of my work is to do with eating behaviors and eating habits. And a lot of the time, not all the time, some people do need the information on like what to eat and XYZ. But the biggest driver of how we eat and what we eat is the underneath work, is our feelings, is suppressing those feelings, is the guilt from that come from thinking that we can't feel those feelings. Or I think as well, another thing is we are all also taught that being uncomfortable is like all of the time is bad, like, or some of the time, I mean. Um, that sometimes that uncomfortable feeling can come from the fact that we have suppressed all these different sorts of feelings all of the time.
100%.
Um,
Anxiety is literally just anxiety should absolutely not be normalized or accepted, which is what kind of enrages me about like the mental health movement to a degree. Is what should be normalized absolutely is people speaking up that they're not okay, but what shouldn't is like living with anxiety is normal. Like,
yeah,
absolutely not. Like, living with anxiety is a huge red flag and a problem, and something that is literally just an indicator of your mind and your soul and your body going, something's out of alignment, and you're meant to put that back into alignment, and then your set point, your norm should feel really, really good. You know, I
yeah,
did not spend 30 years of my life feeling really, really good. But that's actually what it's supposed to be, which is why kids are born so happy, you know, like abundance is your birthright. That's actually where you're meant to be. And so, really, what you want to do, especially if it feels like, oh my God, where do I start? I have this feeling in my body all the time of stress, rush, anxiety, overwhelm. I'm crying at every opportunity. Like, is just realize that when it's like a train track, when your train is on the track and it's running smoothly, it's all good. If if you feel anxiety, it's just your train's off the track. So just start to look at tiny things again with a growth mindset you can do that bring you into alignment, i.e., anything that feels good. So that might be
yeah,
like, I'm not being responsible enough for my sleep, you know? Cool. That's something that's totally in your control that you can clean up. I'm not hydrating myself enough. Awesome. Bring yourself into alignment, whatever is good for you. There is a certain friendship that brings me stress. Fuck it off. Done.
yeah,
My relationship isn't great. Either end it or work on it, or do you know what I mean? Like, you have one chance at this thing. And I think the biggest message that people need to hear is when you're in alignment, everything will work for you. The
yeah,
money will come, the career will come. Actually, when you aren't in alignment, it will never come. If you've
yeah,
normalized dis-ease, you will end up with a disease. That's the literal point of it, in psoriasis or IBS or acne or your periods being everywhere or panic attacks or your mental health. But you know, like, your only job in life is to head towards the light, head towards what feels good, one tiny step at a time. And you really will figure out how to do that. You know, you'll find the right people that will help you, you'll find the right podcasts that will help you, you'll find the right habits that actually you know aren't serving you. And that's the driving force, like you say, about getting uncomfortable and sort of facing those feelings. Is the driver is that the other side of those and what they're trying to tell you will be everything that you're chasing
yeah.
and everything else, because you'll start to just feel that little bit better step by step by step, you know. Do your guys struggle with motivation, or not really?
Sometimes, but it's usually the fact that the the initial source of the motivation will come from, just not the table. They all come from pain and things like that. And when they have been working on their own, more often not that they stay at that point, like they're constantly using that pain as motivation, which is fine for a certain amount of time, but we work on moving to more of a motivation that is who we want to be and how we want to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the sort of work that we do together, but more often than not, when they are working alone, they're kind of stuck in this only
Mm-hmm.
using pain as motivation.
You'll always limit yourself 100% if you're doing that. Like, it will only ever get you so far. And actually, something that's like non-triggering because it's business related, so it's like an easier example to give, is I realized this years ago in my career, is if someone, or when I was, right, working from like fuck you energy, proving I'll show you, I'll show my ex, I'll become really, really rich and successful and show him that he was wrong and that I wasn't going to come crawling back. And, like, you will always be the limit of that. And the
Yeah,
simplest way to understand it is everything is energy. Your energy, your body is energy, your cells are energy, your thoughts are energy, your actions are energy, this laptop is energy. Everything is energy. And you need to choose really carefully whether that energy is light or dark. That's it.
yeah,
It's either lack or it's abundance. And so always asking yourself, am I driving from lack or am I driving from abundance? Driving from lack would be like, I don't want to be the mum that can't walk up the stairs. Okay, that's lack. That is not abundance. That is not, if we're going to use the word positive, that is not positive. Okay, that's like, I don't want to be crippled. Like, that's not a demand. That's not a desire. That's like charging from lack. And so
yeah,
this is such a powerful way of changing someone's thoughts or desires, like you say, of like, who do you want to become? Because it shifts you out of that pain. And I've seen so many women that started businesses and they've never taken off because they've always worked from that fuck you proving energy, or I don't want to be skin. Like, you're only ever going to get so far. So like you say, connecting to that, okay, we're going to close that chapter now. We do not need to keep dragging that as
yeah,
fuel, even kind of without realizing, and connecting to like, what would I love? You know,
yeah,
I had a client once when I was first sort of earlier in my coaching, and it was much more lifestyle coaching, and she was really negative, like really, really heavy in the neg, which she would be okay with me saying. And she's come so fucking far. But I remember I had to like draw a line on our second call. And I was like, you can bring anything to me, like anything, but you can only talk in the desire. Like, you cannot talk, because it was like, even when I said to her, what would you love us to achieve in the next 4 sessions? She would tell me all the things that she didn't want. So, and I remember being there, like, she was so in the habit of being like, I just don't want to keep
yeah,
overthinking every day. And I just don't want to keep being reactive. And like, that's great. But like, we want to initially get the stuff we don't want and then know how to turn it. And I'm like,
yeah, flip
and
it.
she was like, I don't even know how to, I don't even know what I want. Like, she realized. So
Oh,
it's like
yeah,
testing yourself to be like, I want to be patient with my kids. I want a hot body that I feel proud of. So that's definitely the starting point, is what do you want in the
yeah,
positive, in the light?
yeah. And what sort of energizes you? Because it is that source of the motivation, isn't it? If it is always coming from pain
Oh,
or, yeah,
yeah.
then you're never going to keep that up, and you're never going to actually be happy and feel energized and feel all of these feelings that you want to feel, because you're actually doing the things that are not coming from that place.
Yeah, it's like, you're
Um,
allowed to feel excited. You're meant
yeah,
to feel excited. You're meant to feel that up. You're allowed your ego to join the building. You're allowed to be like, I don't just want to be fit for my kids. Like, I want to feel fucking hot, naked, whatever that looks like to you. Like, cool. You're allowed to feel joy. You're allowed, and you need that because, as we know, we can't rely on motivation in anything. We have to rely on self-discipline,
yeah,
but also, like, we want to be excited about it. Like, I want to show up to my workouts and to my business and to my habits that keep me feeling good. Sure, consistently out of discipline, but I definitely want to feel excited about them as much as I can. And I'm not going to feel excited about something if I'm not like turned on about like the woman that I'm going to become and the goal that I'm next going to achieve. And like that's what people are missing. And that's why they start vaping or fucking overeating or chasing another shitty man or like, because they're chasing a thrill, they're chasing that dopamine. But like you can give yourself that dopamine by, like I say, being turned on by what you are going to become and create. Like, how do you want your skin to be? How do you want your nails to be? How do you want your physique to be? What car do you want to drive? Like, get excited about it and allow yourself to hold that vision and that delusion and that excitement and just keep moving towards it. That's the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, definitely. And I think I think it really helped open people's eyes just listening to this. And it is kind of, it's that balance, isn't it, between feeling empowered, but a dose of realism and a dose of
Yeah.
what can you do? Like, because that is essentially what this is about. I know there is a series of things that have happened probably to lead you to where you are today. We have to have some element of responsibility in what you do and what you can do, because we can't control everything, and we shouldn't. Not all of our habits and beliefs should come from control. It's kind of, if they do, it is end up in that rigid sort of mindset again,
Yeah,
um isn't it?
definitely. It's that devotion, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like of all the hurdles that have come in my way, and some of them will have been huge, like some savage heartbreaks and a hysterectomy and, big stuff. But a lot of them were little. And a lot of them was my own mind being like, no one's going to listen to your podcast when you start it. And people are going to laugh at you and you're going to look like a fucking idiot. And, like we all have that stuff. Like you say, the dose of realism is the decision I made a long time ago was I was just not available for my own bullshit. Like I was not going to be a victim of my own shit, and I am not special because I have an inner critic the same as every other human being that has or will ever be born that sometimes gives you a bit of jip. And if I alter or don't get up or show up or do my best that day or quit, the only person that's responsible for that is me, and that is childish behavior. Like for me to go, I couldn't stick at the gym because it was half term. You know what I mean? Or like I couldn't, make my business work because I just kept overthinking and I really cared what people think. Like the literal only person that that would be on is me. And when you zoom out, you have to have, like you say, that no BS shadow work approach to being like, that is just fucking ridiculous. Like,
mm,
just keep doing it. Quit the excuses. Quit that it's harder for me. Hear the self doubt. Hear the fear. Do the fucking thing anyway,
yeah,
and it will work. Go back to the bike riding analogy, but battling with those things is a part of life, and
yeah,
learning how to hold yourself, and like I'm really big on self leadership, know how to lead yourself during those moments as a fucking grown up. Sorry,
yeah,
like imagine if I sent my kid off to year 3 and she went, but I'm scared, and I went, okay, like call it off. Call it. She's never going to go back in because she's scared. Like when did people stop leading themselves that way? Like we need more of this radical ownership because only you can choose to do it. We all feel it, so it's like only you can choose to do it, and we all know the drill. Like you'd say to your kid, you know that's really valid. It's really valid that you feel that way. Like it's new classroom, new teacher, maybe some new kids, and that just feels scary to all of us. You haven't been in school over summer holidays, but you know what? I really believe in you, and you're going to feel that fear, and you're going to do it today, and tomorrow you're going to be at these gates, and you probably will run in, you won't even care. Or it will feel a little bit easier and a little bit easier and a little bit easier, and then you're going to smash it and you're going to end year 3 and you're going to be like, that was no big deal. And literally only you has the opportunity and responsibility to just fucking talk to yourself like that or not,
yeah,
and that's going to determine your weight and your health and your business
yeah.
and that's it, you
I
know.
think as well, going back slightly, and when people do feel stuck in that, the first step
Mm,
can be sharing how you feel, so that even if
mm,
you feel like you can't share it with anyone, or you haven't got that space to share it with yourself and vent how you're feeling. That is fine and that is okay, so that you know that your feelings are valid.
mm-hmm.
But it also, just discussing it and talking about it loud, whether you journal that or talk to yourself in the mirror, whatever you want to do, talking about it will then help you realize and find the next steps that you can take. And it will also help with the fact that you'll start to see how you are feeling, what feelings it is sort of bringing it up. Because I think in terms of things like therapy, I love therapy. Therapy is amazing, but if you're just doing therapy sort of on
Mm.
its own and just constantly only talking about it, if you're not taking action after that, you are gonna sort of be stuck in
Yeah,
this.
it's too regressive. I
Yeah,
feel the same. I've had a lot of therapy. There's a place for it, but most people need coaching. They need
yeah,
progressive. They need the tools because therapy can sort of leave you in the bath of shit, which is not the best place to be, as opposed to what do they do? And it's really simple, exactly as you've said. And sort of like the example of the little girl, the first step has to be validate, admit it, like she did, mummy, I'm scared. And then you
yeah,
have to validate it. Like, it's like if my kid fell over, I wouldn't just get them up and be like, you're all right, off you go, you're all right,
yeah,
you're all right. I'd be like, you're hurt.
yeah,
I'm so sorry. Are you okay? That pain feels really real right now. I'm not going to make a story about it. I'm not going to alter my behavior. I'm not going to turn around and not put her into school, but I'm just going to give her a minute. So every time you feel that feeling in your body, maybe you want to go for the promotion at work and you feel that anxious knot in your body, it's time to admit it. Like you say,
yeah,
I feel really anxious about this. Actually, I've got a story and a doubt that I'm going to walk in there and make a fool of myself, and I don't want the feeling of failure. And don't tell yourself you're an idiot for it. Be like, that's really valid. Like,
yeah,
I'm really proud of you for admitting that. We're not going to pander to it. We're not going to turn around and ghost the interview. We're not going to make a massive hoo-ha about the whole thing. We're not going to call it my anxiety and like adopt it as my whole new personality. But we're going to be like, you're a human being. This is new. It's scary. Those doubts are normal. And also, I really believe in you and you're going to be fine. You know? So
yeah,
exactly as you say, it's that defrost process. And that's all the tool you need. And I think we're initially afraid to admit the feeling because we don't know what to do with it. And that's all you need
yeah,
to do is talk to it like you would your own little girl inside of you and start to be kinder to her, be radically responsible, but also be so much kinder to her. And then she feels safe to come out and play. She's like, oh, okay, I can do it.
yeah. And then when you do feel safe, you can then, that progress from that, you can allow yourself to start feeling all these feelings and eventually like go to where you want to be and who you want to be, because everything you feel is bloody valid and it's okay.
100%. And like it's part of the normal human experience. Like I
100%.
work with people and every single one of them probably looks on the outside like someone who's judging people would think is fine, but they're just a normal human. And do they normalize this kind of thing ruling their life? No, we're not available for that. Do they have those kind of niggly doubt experiences on a very regular basis? Yeah, they just have better management of it. And every step that you take is another little brick in that wall, like you say, that one day, like I'm on my way to a big networking event today. It's like an invite only thing. The women in the room are all going to be older than me. Probably all have been more established than me. Like years ago, like I said, I couldn't even turn up to like some temp admin job interview,
Yeah,
But it's like today I don't even haven't even blinked an eye, But I earned that and I built that myself because I felt the fear, validated myself, but I did the thing anyway. And that gave me another vote of confidence, another 1% of confidence, like every time I've wanted to quit, I haven't. That's I've given myself another 1% from that. And then you can be so excited about the life that you're building because you've got yourself out of that trench. But all you
yeah,
need to do is just give it that space, talk to yourself like a child, be kind, but lead yourself like a
yeah,
leader.
yeah,
And nothing is scarier than being in the prison of not being able to do that. Nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
and that space brings so much, or lightens that mental load so much. Just giving
yes,
yourself that time, the patience, and watching the progress happen and building that confidence. It does
100%. And it's
lighten that
possible for
massively.
every single human being.
100%.
The thing that I've heard sometimes in my personal business, um, is like, is it possible for me? Like, is it too, like, I've tried
Yeah,
everything, and I'm like, you haven't, don't worry.
yeah,
Like, it is possible for you, you've just not been given this method.
yeah.
Like, um, and you really don't need to be fucking perfect every day. Like,
No,
you just
yeah,
need to pick yourself up the next day and go again. Like, that's all. And like, none of it needs to really require extremes, you know. It's just doing a little bit better and then a little bit better and then screwing it all up and then just doing a little bit better, and then that's okay. Not making like a story of that, but it is possible for everyone. It's actually how you were supposed to be wired.
yeah.
So it really is.
And I think sometimes in the bigger picture, like we forget that we are just human. This is our first time on this earth. We're still learning. We can still rewire our brain. Like we learn
Yeah.
it in the first place to get here, so we can unlearn it. We weren't born like that, like you say. And
And it
I think,
really doesn't take that long, because I think when I was at rock bottom, I remember being like, do you know what I remember seeing? This is really cheesy, but I remember seeing one of those reels on Instagram that was like, give yourself 6 months. And I swear that just like did something for me. I was like, okay, I can do that. You know, like, things are that bad. There's no other way out. I've got myself in like such a corner, but I can give myself 6 months. And I think I had this impression that like feeling some kind of relief, or just things starting to feel a bit easier, or not being in this prison of my own mind, was like 7 years down the line, you know. And I think realistically it was like a couple of weeks, you
yeah,
know. And I was like, all right, okay, you know. And I see that sometimes as well. People are like, I really want to work with you. I can't do it now. I'm going to do it in January, you know.
yeah,
And I'm like, would you not just really want the tools to like get through the most stressful Christmas that you've got coming up and just feel a little bit better, like maybe by Monday? Do you know what I mean? And I think it's because of therapy and stuff, which is so heavy, that it's like you don't realize that actually you can probably just have a really great day in like 3 days, and
yeah.
then just global from there and actually just draw a line, you know?
Definitely. I think that there is never a bad time to,
Never.
or never a right time to, or wrong time to work on yourself, whether that's health, whether that is mindset, whatever it is. It's never, and it might be that, yeah, there is a lot going on right now, but once you lighten the load in one area,
Yes.
everything else will feel lighter.
And like the perfect example of that is like, you know, when you felt a bit shit and then you like put some makeup on and maybe a bit of fake tan and a nice outfit, and then you go out and the sun's shining and you've drunk loads of water and you've had great meals, you feel amazing. Do you know what I mean? So there's never a moment to not press go on interrupting the patterns that aren't
Yeah,
serving you. Like you can't afford to wait. You literally
yeah,
don't have the time, because you're you're keeping your own gas mask off, you know, by doing that. And then every other area of your life
will lighten. Yeah,
booms that you're like, I didn't even ask for this. Like, you know, I've met my soulmate. Like, I didn't even ask for that. I was like, I hate men. I'm done with men, you know? But like, because I became the woman that could have
yeah,
this kind of relationship, and that level of quality of man, and that level of quality of client that hires you, and like, you know, that they're all the byproducts. So there's never a time to not have a better day, like, ever, you know, and know
100%.
how to move towards that.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so
I
much
love
for
that.
having me on,
Yeah,
and I hope
thank
this
you for
is
coming.
I hope this has helped some people.
It will 100% help. I think just having the conversation and just being able to listen to what is possible,
Yes.
I think can even just start to lift that overwhelm of feeling stuck.